In this video, we're going to take a look at a Mirage, the Innova Mirage, an understable putt and approach disc. Innova's Mirage is more than a putter. It's a true approach disc. It's designed to flip or to counter hyzer angles when thrown. This is a utility disc of sorts, designed to fight fade so that it lands straighter and lands flat on the ground if thrown correctly. It's best utilized for throws between 100 to 250 feet, and this disc is great for people with low arm speed, like myself, or who have a hard time avoiding hyzering that hyzer angle when they throw. While it can be used for short range putting, its best application is when it's used for the approach game. In other words, leading up to being able to putt, if you're not able to putt. It has a narrow profile, so it's not very tall, and it cuts through the air pretty easily. But it's also influenced by the air greatly due to its shape. However, the Mirage is so flippy that it wants to start turning after just 50 feet, in my experience. In other words, if I'm trying to throw for 100 feet, at about the 50-foot mark, you start seeing it turning. And I'm sure if you throw it with more power, it'll start to turn maybe a little bit later in that flight path, but it is noticeable and it is easy to do that. The upside is that it barely fades at the very end. It turns over easily, but it does not fade easily. And this is great for backhand rollers as well, who don't have a lot of arm strength, but want to get it off into that angle and then let it fly and then roll a good distance. This will inadvertently become a thrower to a number of people who start throwing and don't account for how easily it flips. But one thing I've noticed in my experience is it does hold a line decently enough if you throw it at the correct angle. A big selling point to this is it just doesn't take a lot of power to throw it. I think this disc is great for beginners like myself and for kids and maybe some women that might prefer this type of disc. It has a micro bead here at the bottom, very similar to other putters like the Colt and a few other discs. But given how low profile this disc is, that micro bead actually helps with grip. You can really feel it get into those joints as you're gripping it really tight. I actually find that it helps in grabbing this essentially. So I don't mind that here personally. I'm not a fan of beaded discs, but this is just fine. Lastly, since it's not a tall putter, it may fit into your bag or backpack if things are tight. In other words, if you can just barely fit a disc in there, this disc will fit in there easier than a lot of other putters out there because of its low profile. Whereas, the taller disc just may not be able to squeeze in there. Now, I've actually used it a few times as a driver off the tee or for pretty high power throws, for me at least, when I've had a tailwind, because it helps to minimize turnover and still allow that disc to go very far for the amount of effort that I put into throwing it. It's surprisingly good for reaching distances that you may not be able to reach with slower putters, and it's surprisingly good in terms of glide, despite the fact that it's not domey. Domey discs are often looked at as being easy to glide, more distance, but this flies with ease. It's hard to explain just how easy it is. And that just adds to all the other elements that make this a disc worth considering, in my opinion. Well, that's going to do it for my first disc review. I'll make others in the future, but I wanted to get started with this unique disc. If you like this review, please like the video, and if you know someone that might benefit from watching it, please share. Thank you very much for watching, and have a great day.